You've probably heard it. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. It's a beautiful quote, and it's often attributed to Nikola Tesla. And it's not wrong, but I suggest that it might be incomplete. Because here's the part no one ever seems to talk about. What exactly is vibrating? Is it matter? Is it some kind of energy? Is it the ether? And what are these frequencies made of? What determines how they interact? And really, what's the actual ontology of it all? These questions matter because without them, we're just repeating poetic phrases with no explanatory power. The real missing piece, I think, that Tesla neglected to discuss is phase. Welcome to the Quantified Soul, where we explore the intersection of neuroscience, consciousness, and the mathematics of reality itself. If you are somebody who's curious about what thought is really made of, what the soul actually is, or what Nikola Tesla might have been trying to point us towards, you're in the right place. Because today, we're not just following the trail of energy, frequency, and vibration. We're going deeper into the hidden logic that holds it all together. If frequency is the note that's being played, and vibration is that note resonating in time, then phase is how that note lines up with all the other notes. In other words, if vibration is the dance, then phase is the choreography. And that's what makes it super important. So let's ask the obvious question. What exactly is phase? Well, phase is a timing offset between waves. Here's what phase looks like. These two waves have the same frequency, the same rhythm, the same tempo. But notice, their peaks and troughs don't line up. One starts just a little later than the other. That timing difference is called a phase offset or shift. And here's what that means practically. Two waves can have the same frequency, but if they're out of phase, they cancel each other out. Or if they're in phase, they reinforce each other. But most of the time, they're somewhere in between, creating interference patterns. And that's literally everything. Constructive and destructive interference are what gives structure to fields, patterns to light, and form to thought. And phase isn't just a physical phenomenon. It's the hidden logic of everything. The cosmos, the mind, even all of our spiritual concepts. Tesla helped pioneer polyphase electrical systems. His work literally depended on phase relationships between currents. He knew that power transmission, motors, and energy efficiency all relied on precisely controlling phase. Yet, it's funny, when he spoke philosophically and metaphysically about the secrets of the universe, he spoke only of frequency and vibration, never phase. I think that's strange. It's like Einstein talking about gravity and never mentioning space-time. So maybe Tesla didn't fully realize the implications of phase. He engineered with it, sure, but didn't interpret reality through it. Ontological mathematics takes that final step. According to ontological mathematics, the soul isn't some vague energy. It's not some wispy ghost that can't be defined. The soul, in fact, is a dimensionless mathematical mind, a source of eternal, perpetual thought. It thinks in what we call basis thoughts, pure sine and cosine waves. That's right, mental activity is fundamentally sinusoidal, which we might say is vibration. And that's going to come in handy later when we link all of this to brain activity, which is also typically sinusoidal. This isn't metaphor, it's literal. Your soul, your mind, is an incredibly complex waveform. And how do we know this? Because of this. This is Euler's formula, sometimes called the God equation. Now, this isn't just a clever math trick. This formula really describes how the soul works. Euler's formula unites rotation, eternal mental motion, and vibration. It tells us that eternal circular motion in complex space produces sine and cosine waves, the very basis of mental experience. Let's walk quickly through this logic. First, a soul must be in eternal mental motion. If it were static, the universe would be static too, and it's clearly not. The simplest form of eternal motion, therefore, is a circle, not a physical loop, but a mental one, an endless return where beginning and end are the same. Euler's formula shows us that this kind of rotation produces sine and cosine waves, basically as a side effect, perfectly orthogonal and mathematically necessary. Mental motion produces waves, or we might say vibration. And since there's no reason to favor one radius or frequency over another, the soul naturally must generate a spectrum of these waves, basis thoughts across all frequencies. This is the alphabet of thought, the building blocks of all experience and reality itself. Now, here's a crucial point. Sine and cosine together are light, not metaphorically, literally, scientifically, ontologically. In physics, light is an electromagnetic wave, an electric field and a magnetic field oscillating at right angles to each other. One's a sine wave, the other a cosine wave. They're perfectly orthogonal and perfectly synchronized. And that's what lets light propagate. The very structure of light is built from these two waveforms, phase shifted by 90 degrees, just like Euler described. So when we say that the perfected soul is light, we're actually not being poetic. We're describing a real waveform configuration, sine and cosine, and pure phase-aligned harmony. These aren't just symbols. They're the actual substance of thought, the mental light that reality is made of. Before the Big Bang, all souls existed in this state. Perfect synchrony, perfect light. Imagine every mind resonating in harmony, generating only sine and cosine waves with no phase difference, internally or between each other. And in that state, if you saw it, you might not even notice they were separate souls at all. The coherence would be so total, the harmony so perfect, it would appear as one radiant field. But the truth is that that unity was made of many. So, why do we experience separation? Because at the moment of the Big Bang, all monads, all souls, were thrown into a state of maximum entropy through phase misalignment. Now, this didn't scramble the individual basis waves themselves, because those sine and cosines cannot be destroyed. What got scrambled was the interference pattern they formed together, composed of sinusoidal waves with phase. That interference pattern is what we experience as our identity, or the self. The soul, in this process of becoming, is always expressing itself as a standing wave, a stable configuration that emerges from the sum of all the basis sinusoids that it chooses to actualize at a given time. And when those basis waves are out of phase with each other, when their peaks and troughs don't line up, what you get is distortion, incoherence, and fragmentation. Not chaos exactly, but dissonance. Each soul's identity becomes a fluctuating, unstable interference pattern. Not completely incoherent, but pretty far from light. This loss of phase alignment, both within and between minds, is what gives rise to the illusion of separateness. It's what allows the universe to unfold as a story and a process. And this moment, this fall into phase difference, again, it's what we know as the Big Bang. Each soul is a superposition of sinusoidal thoughts. Your identity, your psyche, your sense of self, it is this interference pattern that they create. It's not just a blur of frequencies. It's a structured but evolving standing wave. Some parts reinforce each other. That might be your strengths, your habits, your clear desires. And some parts cancel out or interfere. That could be your doubt, your internal conflict, or your unconscious patterns. Now, this isn't a value judgment. These parts can even be constructive and serve a clear purpose, as we see in systems like internal family systems. The point is, this pattern is not static. It shifts, evolves, and refines as the soul re-chooses and rephases its constituent waves over time. Every life event, every insight, every trauma nudges this pattern into a new configuration. And the process of individuation, it's not some vague spiritual journey. It's phase alignment, coherence tuning. It's learning to select and phase your internal signals so that they don't cancel each other out, but resonate. This isn't abstract. It explains the roots of so many ideas. Chakra blockages, for example? Well, chakras themselves are an abstract, potentially even human construct. What a chakra blockage actually points to is really phase misalignment between centers of thought and feeling within this interference pattern. We can also explain why things happen at all. Why does one thing happen instead of another? Well, it works based on resonance with the collective interference pattern, which is made out of nothing other than phase differences and constructive and destructive interference between minds. Even karma. Although karma, as commonly understood, I think is a problematic idea, since it typically leaves out the collective influence. But we might think of how you know karma as sort of ongoing phase disharmonies that we carry from one life to the next. And magic? Well, intentionally crafting thought patterns with carefully and skillfully constructed phase that we want to resonate with the collective field to alter probability is also all about skillful phase manipulation. Even our spiritual purpose, we can redefine that as bringing our unique waveform into alignment with the universal harmonic field with all other minds. You don't need to believe in mysticism. You don't even need mystical experience. You just need, like Tesla said, to understand energy, frequency, vibration, and phase. Ontological mathematics says the brain doesn't create the mind, it reflects it. If the soul is a waveform generated from outside space and time, then the brain is how that waveform interferes with the physical and collective field. Where this gets juicy is that in the field of neurotherapy, one of the leading theories is this, that neuropsychiatric conditions are fundamentally connectivity problems. They're maladaptive communication within the brain. In other words, neuropsychiatric conditions are problems of phase. When brain regions are out of sync, cognition and emotion break down. And when they're locked too tightly, flexibility disappears. Desynchronization and hypercoherence are two sides of the same problem. And this isn't just a brain issue. It's the soul's signal struggling to express itself clearly through its biological interface. In the EEG, we see common patterns of dysregulation, like excess theta, not enough beta, or that misaligned phase. These are all visible traces of the soul's waveform trying to come through cleanly and clearly. Through this lens, therapy becomes waveform tuning. Healing becomes a kind of a resonance repair, because everything is about phase. So we admire Tesla. He was brilliant, but I don't think he went far enough. He worked with phase daily in engineering, polyphase system, alternating current motors, and so on. But he never made the philosophical leap to ontological mathematics. The real secret of the universe isn't just frequency and vibration. It's phase. Phase is what makes you different from others. It's what makes your soul feel either fragmented or whole. It's what turns thought into coherence or chaos. And it's what turns spiritual ideas into concrete truth. When we understand this, we see that the entire journey of existence is really a process of rephasing. We begin in cosmic disharmony. Then we move toward individual coherence and then collective coherence, and eventually universal harmony. This is what ontological mathematics gives us: the map, the mechanics, and the language to describe it all precisely. Thanks for listening. If this sparked something in you, if you want to go deeper into the structure of the soul, the signal of the mind, and the tools we can use to tune our minds, please subscribe to my Substack, The Dream of Matter, and explore neurotherapy with me at Peak Mind. And on this channel, I'll continue to explore these ideas, in particular, how we can link all of this to a quantifiable soul.